Hey guys, today's video we would like to address aspects of ADHD and others of neurodiversity. What are factors, symptoms, solutions, and what you might not need to or want to solve? A big mouthful. We'll touch on these aspects and then mention a workshop that we'd like to do that goes into more detail and more practical solutions for your family.
So, you know, all of these kids, even adults, get categorized into a line on a spectrum from autistic to hyperactive ADD, ADHD, and there are a number of factors involved, and it can be different for each one. If you look at the obvious results from environmental toxicity, diet, gut issues, mineralization or depletion of minerals, the biome, things like household cleaners, hygiene products, sanitizers, highly processed foods, toxic foods. There's so many different aspects to look at, but in general, if one looks at the overall approaches to how the body works and attached to those observations of what inputs and products are used and what foods are eaten and environments, light environment, all of these things play a part. And in each specific case, they may vary, but the general sort of outcome is that there is some form of toxicity that is affecting the body. And there may be other unknown aspects which haven't really been considered by the medical field at this stage, which we'd like to address in a workshop environment or a contact interactive session. So if people are interested in looking at those aspects, we can delve into those a little bit deeper, which might change people's perspectives on how to approach these types of beings and how to assist them to develop fully into their own potential. Marlies and I have dealt with a lot of these cases.
So I think what every parent might want to consider here is what are aspects of the child that they are really born with, in the sense of the way they are designed. What is their soul's journey? What is actually their nature that's unique? I would say our main aim is not to fit a child into a system that's broken. Having said that, there are a lot of things we can do to help a child, help a parent cope. And as again says, there's toxicity as components, looking into which are the toxins that cause certain symptoms. So the occurrence of ADHD among the vaccinated kids are a lot higher. We look at what happens, we go right back. What happened at birth? Did a kiddo get all the right bacteria from mom at birth and breastfeeding and all that? If not, how we can restore that and how that impacts the brain. So, certain bacteria need to be reseeded. We also look at gut health along the same lines, if there was antibiotics and that, because that all impacts the brain and neurotransmitters. We look at diet from a perspective of blood sugar and nutrition. The brain needs certain nutritional components, macro, micronutrients, minerals, to actually function. So is a child getting that through their current diet? What does it look like? What are your options, your best options to feed your child for the best nutrition for their body and brain, which we can't really separate? And are there things that they're being fed that impacts their blood sugar? Because that can make a child completely uncontrollable in their completely a fall down with concentration, a fall down with behavior and mood, and it's actually just blood sugar. It might be toxicity. Another component of input we look at is folic acid versus folate, a very common toxin, and almost all of us consume folic acid. So just a little side note, every cell in the body goes through a process of methylation or needs methylation processes, and that would be something that impacts neurotransmitters, genetic expression, detoxification, and so many things that are critical in the body. And from a perspective of neurodivergence and ADHD, methylation is a critical process um, to happen thoroughly and properly. It requires a number of nutrients, including methyl tetrahydrofolate. So that is the natural form of vitamin B9. The typical synthetic form that is used is folic acid. And that actually sits in those receptor sites, prevents the real folate that's required to bind to the cell and complete the methylation process, and does so much harm to hundreds and hundreds of functions in the body, including the brain and the neurotransmitters we're talking about. Folic acid comes in the forms of supplemental shakes, baby formulas, flour, all sorts of supplements, and is harmful to brain function. So we look at that from a nutritional input as well. Something else we'd like to dive into with the family when we look at these things is the aspect of light. The non-native EMF environment, or the blue light we get from all our screens and tech that our kids are overexposed to. We look at more specifically what it does for the brain and behavior overall. Among many other things, it harms dopamine processes, melatonin. That's not just for sleep. Definitely has an impact on concentration, motivation, even on the blood sugar, and can also increase cortisol and what appears as anxiety that is so often closely associated with these types of neurodivergence. So, as we talk about in many of our other platforms, to get enough sunlight is important for neurotransmitters, and to combat the blue light, especially after dark, is actually something that can support a child's function, behavior, motivation, and how they cope overall. So look out for details on workshops we'll be hosting, and more information on social media. If you find any benefit in these, please subscribe and like and help get the word out.